By the way, I got to tell everybody, every title we talk about tonight you can purchase off of our website. If you go to our homepage, moviegeeksunited.net, at the very top there'll be a link where you can click to our Blu-ray store and purchase all the titles that we're discussing tonight. Isn't that great?
Yes,
full service.
And do we get any kind of kickback on that?
Hell no.
God damn it.
Jesus Christ.
No, I will
you
tell you.
Can't make a dime in this business.
No,
last month we made $2.25.
Thank God for that.
So this would be a good time to ask people to send in donations.
That doesn't work either. All right, Adam. It's all up to you now.
Okay,
our financial future is in your hands.
Oh, that's a scary thought.
Can we raise another two? I feel like I'm hosting a telethon. Adam, can you help us raise another $2.25?
I'll do my best, but no guarantees.
Oh,
well, we will start out on a high note, though. Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, the director's cut, has been issued on Blu-ray, and it's forthcoming on 4K as well. So that's a nice that's a nice title. So we can kind of get excited about that, I believe.
Have you seen this version, or I can't remember if I've ever seen the director's cut of.
What would be the director's cut? I mean,
well, it's essentially the version that ABC Television ran in their network slot years ago. There were 4 minutes that Nicholas Meyer added to the film, and it's mostly character stuff. Just kind of enhances. It's good. I mean, it's good. I think. I don't know that it's really.
Best movie. It's the best Star Trek film there is. I mean, it is the gold standard. It's the gold standard of sequels for the most part too. I mean,
the other month when MegaCon was going on, William Shatner was one of the guests there, and so he did a presentation. And I swear, it's almost as though he was making fun of people being so rabid to see him, because the first 20 minutes, and you can find it online. The first 20 minutes, he starts talking about how to find the best seafood in L.A. and how it doesn't how it compares favorably to like the Italian food you get in L.A. is just as good, if not better, than what you get in Italy. And he was going through all these entrees, and I was like, "Are you ever going to talk, geeky stuff?" It almost seemed purposeful on his part. But then he did share a story about knowing Ricardo Montalban back from the early days of his career. And what a powerful actor he was. And he really does make a difference in Wrath of Khan. I mean, having such a forceful presence and a classically trained actor in that role.
Have you guys ever heard the prank phone call where the guy does the impression of, he calls George Takei, and he is doing an impression of Ricardo Montalban, and he falls for it? I'm sure you can get that.
Did you ever see the... Did you see the Howard Stern show with the fake Arnold Schwarzenegger would call in and talk about not passing gay marriage? And he got in a fight with him.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's all good stuff. He's very gullible. He is very gullible, and so they play on that. And this guy, he does a pretty good impression of Ricardo Montalban. I mean, it's decent, but he falls right for it. He goes for it. It's great.
Oh,
really
man.
good. I'm sure you can find it on YouTube or something. But anyway, so The Martian. I know this is a fairly recent title, but it's worth mentioning because, and I think Ridley Scott does this quite a bit, and he's doing it again. There's an extended edition of The Martian, and it's 15 minutes longer, but I haven't gotten a chance to look at it yet, but I heard that the 15 minutes actually makes it a better film. That's what I'm gathering, that it really does.
But it wasn't a bad film when it came out. It's I have to say it's one of the films that's actually far superior to the book it's based on.
Yeah,
it really is. I mean, it is one of the biggest crowd pleasers of last year. It really. I can't see. I mean, the audience is really into it, and it's just a real crowd pleaser of a movie. So what?
Well, I hope they didn't add another scene. I hope they didn't add another scene of the NASA guys, laughing and clapping at how clever they are.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, we really need that.
I think it had like 5 of those in that movie. That really helps the crowd really get into it. Everybody smiling and patting each other on the back and clapping.
It's one of Ridley Scott's better movies in recent years. I mean,
yeah.
But
I just liked the Martian, the Mars part of it. I hated all the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say hated, I hated it. Like I hated it like Roger Ebert hated North.
Thank you. I realized. Thank you. We got that.
Well, that movie really benefits from Matt Damon being in it. You know, I was reading I wasn't reading it. I was watching this HBO promo for this Bill Simmons show.
Mm-hmm.
And he's giving this monologue in front of the camera, and he's telling his opinion about certain things, and he says, and he's of the opinion that every movie starring Leonardo DiCaprio would be just a little bit better if it were Matt Damon instead. And I started to think about that, and I was thinking, I said, well, that doesn't fix The Departed, but I like DiCaprio, but I kind of agree with him.
I mean, I think DiCaprio is perfect in Wolf of Wall Street. I wouldn't want anybody else in that.
No one else. No one else.
He's perfect in that movie.
But I just thought I would mention that there is an extended edition. And I also want to mention this, too. We were talking about Star Trek 2, and I got sidetracked. I wanted to mention that it's a really odd thing that Paramount, they made an announcement about it. If anybody has purchased this disc, there's a sequence, I think it's like in the first 30 to 45 minutes, where there's like a scene with, speaking of Takei, Sulu is seen in the same shot. The same shot is replicated. That when they were putting the movie, I guess when they were somehow putting it onto the disc, they accidentally replicated the same shot twice. So you see, and it's a very odd thing that and apparently they've recalled the discs. So if you have one, you can get online and look that up, and they'll replace that disc.
Do you take it to a Blu-ray mechanic or something, and they'll fix it for you?
I guess something like that. Maybe they have their own in-house, but no, there's actually some new documentaries on there too. So there's more to it than just the director's cut. But anyway, we'll move along to another title. And I know we normally don't do television stuff, but this one I think is worth mentioning. The complete original Roots has been issued by Warner Brothers, and that's always been pretty impressive, and I think it pretty well still holds up. But they've done a nice job putting that out there in a nice little package, and so anyway, that's Warner Brothers, and yeah, it definitely deserved a release. And Warner's also has been busy with some other things. She Wore a Yellow Ribbon. They put that out in the month, and They Were Expendable. And that's one of John. Both of those are great John Ford pieces, yeah.
But I love They Were Expendable is one of the best World War II movies, and also strange because it doesn't have that sort of rah kind of thing going for it. It's rather downbeat, so
yeah.
So it's interesting to check out.
Yeah, those are good films. Also, Victor Victoria is that's being issued, and I know you guys were talking about Blake Edwards on last week's show, and I think Jerry mentioned that he got an honorary Oscar, even in spite of the fact that his career was so uneven, I guess we should say. But this was the film I think that he got the Oscar nomination for, if I'm not mistaken. If he did,
he
get
did.
one,
I think he got a screenwriting nomination for it. Yeah.
Look,
he
made one of the best movies about Hollywood, S.O.B. I mean, S.O.B. is a superb. Yeah. I'd even willing to say that's even better than any of the early King Panther movies. That's a very, and a tour de force performance from William Holden. But that's before The Player.
Yep.
That's really one of the great, movies about Hollywood.
And then you wonder where the hell did Wait Until Dark come from? That's a stunning movie. Hey, is this like the 35th anniversary of Victor Victoria or something? Because they're reissuing it on every format. Is that why?
Well, it came out in '82, so it barely misses the cut. I mean, it's like 34 years.
Huh.
So
the soundtrack's being reissued on vinyl too.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about this year.
But anyway, yeah, there's some good Blake Edwards stuff there, and I think that one goes down with one of the better. I'm a big fan of the. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, did he really do Wait Until Dark? I didn't know that was him.
Yeah. Didn't he?
I don't think
I
he
think
did.
that's Terrence Young, I believe, directed
Terrence
that.
Young.
Wait Until Dark is the movie about the Indianapolis. I told you.
Again, we're going to that.
It is Terrence Young. Why did I think that was Blake Edwards?
Because it's got Audrey Hepburn in it, and he did Breakfast with Tiffany's, I guess.
Yeah.
So, but you remember he started off his career doing mostly dramatic stuff, like Days of Wine and Roses, and of course Peter Gunn, and Experiments in Terror.
I'm gonna have to edit the hell out of this show. All my screw
It happens to all of us. That's for sure.
Yes.
Happens to all of us, but yeah. So yeah, I'm a big fan of The Party. Actually, I just think even though it kind of runs out of steam towards the end, I think that has some of the best sight gags. It's just incredible.
It is fun.
Funny and
it is fun. It's unusual too. It's
yes.
It's a very unusual movie, The Party.
I'm a fan of Bachelor Party. Did he direct that? Was that a Blake?
He didn't do Bachelor Party, but Bachelor Party does have some big laughs in it.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
But The Party is, they talk about that how politically incorrect it is, because you have Peter Sellers in that dark makeup portraying an a Native American.
Well, he's not a Native American. He's an actual Indian in it.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, like a real Indian. That's right.
My God, this thing's going to be cut to ribbons.
He's a real Indian. That's right. Yeah.
No, I'll keep that.
It's been a while since I've seen it, but well, anyway.
Okay.
So Shrek, the complete collection. I guess now that is a 15th anniversary because the first one was 2001. So they're putting out a box there with all the Shreks. Yep.
Another thing I kind of despise. I know I'm alone, but I kind of hate it.
After the first one, who the hell gives a shit about Shrek?
I do love Eddie Murphy's performance in the first Shrek.
Great jackass, but I mean, who the hell cares about Shrek after the first one, the novelty of the first one? I mean, does Shrek 2 and Shrek 3 really have fans? I mean,
well, I mean, I would imagine, there's loads of 6 and 7-year-old fans.
I mean, are these the same people that go for like the later Halloween and Friday the 13th movies? I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah. And it's probably, now that it's 15th anniversary, that means all of those 10-year-olds that loved it back then already have their own kids, so now they can
poison them further.
They can voice their horrible memories onto them.
Oh my God, Dean, you're really depressing me right now. But okay.
Sorry.
It's all right.
Well, this one's in a totally different ballpark, I guess you would say. The Best Intentions.
I love that.
Yeah, Ingmar Bergman wrote it, but did not direct. It was when he was on his directing sabbatical. When he
wanted to direct it. I mean, he had the best intentions, but he just couldn't.
Oh my God! Oh,
but that's the kind of the story of how his mother and father met. I think, and Billy August, another Swedish director, is the director of it. Yep. It's very, very good.
It's true. Well, how about the 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T?
That's a masterpiece. A masterpiece.
That one's,
I don't know if. It's Roy Rowland is the director. It's based, of course, on the Dr. Seuss. Well, I don't know if it's based on one of his books, but it's definitely a Dr. Seuss script. Theodore Geisel, and just an amazing performance by Hans Conried as Dr. T, who's there to teach. Well, it's basically a dream film, basically, where the kid who doesn't want to take piano lessons falls asleep and has a dream that he's being terrorized by his piano teacher, and is in a fantasy world. This is 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T.
Yeah.
He basically fantasizes has a dream about being terrorized and being caught in a sort of a fantasy world with 1,000 other kids that are playing this one huge piano. So hence the 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T. And it's superb. It's a great movie.
It's a great title for a porn film too. Like the porno gynecologist, kind of.
Very good. But well, we were talking about the John Wayne films. A couple of his efforts from the 70s. Warner Brothers is also issuing those, McHugh and Chisholm. So
what's that last one?
There you go. I'm waiting for the joke for Chisholm here.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to see McHugh, actually. That's one of them that I've been curious about.
That's the one. He's in L.A. in that one, right?
Yeah, he's a would-be Dirty Harry, I think, in that one.
Right. Yeah. And then Brannigan was another one where he was in Britain.
Yep.
So that's a very odd
John Wayne in Britain. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, he was really branching out there in the 70s, trying some new things.
You got to give him credit for trying to do some of those type of movies.
It's true.
I guess that was once his management team probably said, "Look, Duke, the Western is dead. You got to move on." So I guess that's what he did.
Kept on keeping on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Criterion has issued La Amici, Michelangelo Antonioni's film from 1955.
Wow.
And so that's...
I've never seen that one.
Yeah, I haven't either. It's one of my blind spots in the Antonioni canon. But anyway, so moving right along here, we had a really big release day on June 14th. So this was just a lot of stuff to discuss here, and some that'll spur some good discussion. Starting with Airport, the complete collection, which contains all 4 Airport films in one box set.
And I know you love that, right?
I had to get it the day it came out.
Oh my God, you're a
absolutely.
Person.
Universal does not typically send me their catalog titles, unfortunately. So this is one that I had a little credit with them, and I said, I'm there. I am absolutely there. I mean,
how many Airport movies were there?
There's 4 of them.
4 of them.
Airport,
so there are 4 Airport
5?
movies on 4 Airport movies on Blu-ray for $17.99.
Absolutely, yeah, it's a great deal. Yeah.
Well,
do you still feel like you overpaid?
Once you get to Airport 79, you're going to be wanting them to pay you to get it.
Yeah, but I mean, Airport 77 is Jimmy Stewart / screen roll. So I mean, let's not.
Wow.
Actually, that's not true. His last screen roll is
what comes after 77?
Magic of Lassie.
The Magic of Lassie.
Yeah.
Wait, he was in the Magic of Lassie. Did
yes,
Lassie
he was.
fight him?
Yeah, that was his last big screen role.
Wait, when did the Magic of Lassie come out? Wait a second.
78. That was 78.
Wait a second. That's bullshit. Premiere owes me an apology then when they did his filmography because they have the Magic of Lassie before Airport 77. Oh my God! What a
yeah.
But he was on the he was on the
prove
that
for
years to come.
That just goes to prove that it's not all a wonderful life.
No, it's not. I mean, he would have been better off with dying in a plane in 77, but okay.
So there's 79 Airport movies. That's amazing. 79 Airport movies.
Well, the 4th one, one of my colleagues and I, we were talking about, it's a terrible film, obviously, but it's terrible in an Ed Wood type way.
Right.
You know, because you got your all-star cast and the plane. There's one sequence where the plane flies upside down and John Davidson's hair stays in place when the plane is flying upside down.
God bless him. God
Yeah,
bless John Davidson.
And you just can't.
The hairspray
you know,
was strong back then, so.
Yeah, yes. And, you know, it's like whenever the plane gets in trouble, Martha Ray's in the bathroom every time. That's a running gag in the film. And she comes out of the bathroom and the plane's in disarray every time. And it's like,
Boy.
you know, but you and I talked, Dean, you and I talked about why didn't they reboot the airport films when George Kennedy was still alive, because they could have, because he's in all of them, and he was the air traffic controller that always helped get them back safely. And we said, you know, why not reboot it and have him as this air traffic controller who never can retire, because every time he starts to retire, they have some sort of disaster, and he.
Right. Exactly.
But
yeah, I mean, they, you know, the first airport is kind of dull, I think. But it's got some interesting things in it. Like, I mean, it's just kind of fascinating to look at. They were still making those kind of movies, that kind of look of a movie. I mean, it looks like it comes right out of the middle of the 60s, but it's 1970s. And it's got some split screen stuff that I kind of like, and I know Helen Hayes won the Oscar, but it's really Maureen Stapleton who's really the better supporting actress in it, and she plays the wife of the bomber that's supposedly on the plane. And
is that the one where Dean Martin is the pilot?
That's the one.
Yeah, Dean Martin and Jacqueline Bisset looking. Yeah,
that movie took forever to get started. I mean, I was
It
watching it for an hour, and I was like, when does this start kicking in?
Yeah, it is just like if you're expecting a disaster movie, like as they were later on, what you get is a lot of soapy stuff for a long time before the action actually starts. And it's never really an exciting movie, but it was a massive hit. And then 75 is also pretty bad, I think, pretty poor. And I guess out of the four, 77 with Jack Lemmon in the lead might be the best one, or maybe, I don't know, maybe Airport's
I think you're
the
right.
best one, but
I would agree with that, because that's the one I saw in the theater. So yeah, I'd go with that one.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's a great cast. Christopher Lee's in that, and Darren McGavin, and Brenda Vaccaro, and of course you mentioned James Stewart, and it's really, there's a lot of great actors in that, and I think Robert Foxworth too. So there's a lot of good talent there. But all
the stars from all the major legends from that time are represented. Was the Unknown Comic? Is he one of the cast members from the Gonzo?
Murray Langston.
Wouldn't that have been great if the Unknown Comic had been in it? That would have been fantastic.
It would have been.
When the plane goes upside down, the bag doesn't fall off, you know, off of his head.
Well, you know, 75 is the one that the Zucker brothers took so much material from that they used in Airplane. You know, that's the one with the singing nun, and that's the one with well, there's just I can't even remember what all, but there's quite a few things they take from that one and just rib on them in Airplane. So, yeah. So anyway, but moving on to another one. How about Black Dog with Patrick Swayze as a truck driver from?
Oh God, I remember that one. Oh my God.
Wait,
they found a negative for that? Oh my God.
They did. They did.
I think when Meatloaf collapsed on stage last week, he was thinking about that film.
Oh, poor Meatloaf. How is he doing, by the way? I haven't heard anything else other than he collapsed.
I think he's fine. I think he's fine. He started bleeding, and it looked like ketchup on Meatloaf.
Good. Very good. Yeah.
God.
Well. We have.
Sorry, I'm not done laughing at myself. Hang on. Okay.
That was good.
Oh man.
Yeah. What about Conan the Complete Quest, which is both of the Conan films with Arnold Schwarzenegger, of course, And the latter of which is directed by Richard Fleischer, who keeps coming up in our conversations here.
Yes.
Is that
guy was
the
everywhere.
Destroyer, the second one?
Yeah.
Okay.
The same guy that directed Mandingo and The Jazz Singer with Neil Diamond and Fantastic Voyage. And
yeah, he was. He was all over the place.
Soylent Green. You could keep on naming them.
Yeah.
But anyway, Gold from 1934, and I hate to say it, but I'm not really familiar with that one all that much. But Here Comes Mr. Jordan. Criterion put that out. Of course, that later became Heaven Can Wait, directed by Warren Beatty. That he remade later.
That original is superb. It's really, really great. It's got a lot of. It's funnier than the remake. You know, I know the remake is a little bit more popular. Although Heaven Can Wait is not a movie that people talk about or even remember that Warren Beatty did. And of course, he co-directed it with Buck Henry. But I would highly recommend. Huh?
Well, I mean, that's what the credits say anyway.
Yeah.
You can't co-direct anything with Warren Beatty. Warren Beatty wanted to safeguard himself, so he didn't want to go out there on a limb by himself in case he failed. But essentially, I mean, he took over the thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Is there any report on what Buck Henry actually did? Did he do any directing at all in it?
Yeah, it's in the Peter Biskind Warren Beatty book. He interviews Buck Henry for it. So.
Okay.
Yeah, you detect a little animosity there from Buck Henry, I think, reading between the lines when I was reading that, from what I recall. So,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, anyway, so also Universal, not only did they release Airport, the complete collection, they also opted to release the remaining titles in the Jaws series the same day. Jaws 2, 3, and Jaws the Revenge, and 3 has now been issued in 3D for the first time ever, officially, and it's in the real D, I think, 3D, the new 3D technology, not the old. So I think it's been upgraded. So you can
finally see that fantastic shot when they blow up the shark again, and the jaws actually are floating in the water and come up to the screen. You can see that fantastic, wonderful shot.
Hey, I was 9 years old when that thing came out in the theater, and I saw it opening weekend, Jaws 3D. And, you know, faced with that severed fish head at the very beginning before the opening credits start. And then I rewatched it a year or two ago on regular television. And all of those 3D movies from the 80s, they all look so damn blurry in their transfers on TV. Like, they're so awful looking. But it took, when the shark, right before the shark, like, crashes through the tank and kills Lou Gossett and all that, it took forever for that shark to touch that glass. I mean, it's like the lamest suspense sequence ever, because the shark is not moving.
Yeah.
Oh, man, trying to stretch it out.
I don't think I've seen it in 30 years since it, closer to 35 years since it was on HBO originally. I think that's the last time I ever saw it, so I don't remember a whole lot. But anyway,
I saw it on the big screen in 3D.
Yeah. Jeepers Creepers 1 and 2. So speaking of franchises, Scream Factory has opted to do Jeepers Creepers 1 and 2 in separate, not together, but separately. So each one has its own release. So,
okay.
Good.
So there you are.
Officially, Francis Ford Coppola's strangest credit.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would say so. So, and we'll get into the Twilight Time stuff now. The Twilight Time titles were issued that same day that all these other things came out. And that day they opted to release Rollerball, which is an actual reissue. They sold that one completely out, and they reissued that one, the original Rollerball, not the McTiernan. Let's make that clear. And
the Norman Jewison Rollerball, the actually good Rollerball.
Yeah, that's the one. Romeo is Bleeding, with of course Gary
Oldman.
Gary Oldman, and Lena Olin. Anyway, and Hound of the Baskervilles, and we're talking about the Hammer version with Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, and the Member of the Wedding. That's with Julie Harris, of course, based on Carson McCullers. Yeah,
and, that's great. It's with Julie Harris and Ethel Waters and
Brandon DeWilde.
And Brandon DeWilde, right? It's a Fred Zinnemann movie, kind of stagey, but kind of in a fascinating kind of way. Beautiful black and white photography, and Julie Harris is superb in it.
Yeah, I reacquainted myself with it again the other night. I hadn't seen it in forever, and it holds up pretty well. Not bad.
Yeah.
Got The Panic in Needle Park, the Pacino, of course, and all of these have. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say Kitty Wynn, who is, I guess she's the Kitty Wynn was the woman who was in helping Ellen Burstyn out in the house in The Exorcist, and it's the only other movie I've ever seen her in. But she's great. She actually won Best Actress at the Cannes Film Festival for Panic in Needle Park, but somehow it didn't really translate into a big career.
Well, she didn't want a career. She left movies.
I was going to say, I think she married and just opted out. But she is an Exorcist, too. Let's not forget about that.
Yep.
So.
That precipitated her exit.
I was watching Panic in Needle Park again, and I was thinking about her. I thought, I wonder what would have happened if she had gone on and pursued her career, and what kind of roles. It makes you wonder. But anyway, but if you're a fan of that movie, there's some great documentaries on the disc as a bonus. So I would highly recommend anybody who's a fan of that. And one more Twilight Time title, and I'll be interested to see if any of you guys have seen this one or are aware of it. Inserts from 1975, which is directed by John Byram and stars Richard Dreyfuss as a porn movie a stag film director in the 1930s.
Not a great movie.
Yeah, no. It's but it's a weird it's a weird entry into his catalog. But I've never watched it, but it doesn't sound very good to me.
Well, isn't it? No. And I was watching it, and there's absolutely no reason for it to still be X-rated. But wasn't it X-rated for a long time? Or
it was.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Twilight Time version is actually, I don't think it's ever been seen in the States because it was trimmed to 99 minutes by United Artists when it came out, and they were trying to capitalize on the success of Jaws, of course, and the name, and. But the original British version was 117 minutes, which is the one they put out. So I don't know. I found it hard to get through it. I'll be honest. I just couldn't quite make it to the end of it. It was pretty painful. So
that's always a great sign for a movie. Okay.
But it's a wonderful cast. I mean, Veronica Cartwright, and you got Jessica Harper, and you got Bob Hoskins, and it's good cast there, but just not much going on. But anyway, so that, and then we have Something Big. Keno Lorber decided to put that one out.
What is that one?
That's
what a
the
movie
Dean
to
Martin.
pair up with inserts.
Yeah.
Wow. Is this a sequel, the unofficial sequel to Big? I mean...
Something Big. Now this is the one with it's Dean Martin.
God, he's getting a lot of names tonight. I mean, my God, Dean Martin's getting more play than anyone tonight. I mean,
yeah,
some things
really
never
is.
change.
Well, I'm glad. No, I'm happy for him. I mean, I'm happy.
Yeah, it's Dean Martin and Brian Keith, Andrew McLaughlin, 1971.
Sounds like a Western.
Yeah,
it
really.
is.
I mean,
It is.
It is a Western? Okay.
Yeah, so anyway, but June 21st, we're working from the first of the month and going backward, but here's a couple of titles for you. How about Roller Coaster from 1977 in Sense-Around, which the Sense-Around track has been retained for the Blu-ray release, I must add.
wow.
So what does that mean? Does that mean that you can have Sense-Around in your home if you have the right equipment and stuff? Well, that seems weird.
Well, supposedly it works on a standard home theater system. It just registers on your system as a 3.1. You know, most modern soundtracks
called the Richter scale.
Well, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
No,
That's good.
the Blu-ray comes with a little immigrant boy who will blow in your face while you're watching the movie.
Oh God! Oh my God! Oh God!
But I do have to say this about Roller Coaster. It is. I don't know if it's just nostalgia or something. It's kind of a bad movie, but there is something. I watched it again just recently, and I said, it is exciting, and Timothy Bottoms plays a really good crazy mad bomber in it, and if anything, maybe I could. I've just never really cottoned to George Segal as a leading man in movies. So I think that he's sort of miscast in it, really. But it's actually it is an interesting movie, and it has a really great climactic scene, and all the roller coaster stuff is good in it. So
yeah, and a good score by Lalo Schifrin, who you reviewed recently.
Our buddy.
So. Yeah, so that's worth it for that. So I don't think that score ever made it officially. I don't think it was an official release. It may have turned up on a compilation or something here in the last. But I know when the film came out, you couldn't find it anywhere, and I kind of liked it when it came out. But anyway, so we have a couple other things here. The Unsinkable Molly Brown from Warner Archive.
Right.
It's that.
Debbie Reynolds Debbie Reynolds and Carol Channing, right?
Yep. Yeah.
They were both nominated for Oscars for it.
Yeah, that's true. Well, this is the same Molly Brown that Kathy Bates portrays in the Cameron version of Titanic. I think that's the same person.
It's a musical, right? It's a musical.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So I've never seen it.
Somebody
Roller
made
Coaster. The soundtrack to Roller Coaster was issued in 1977 on LP. You can buy it for $3.73.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think I've seen that soundtrack at my local used record store.
I don't know how I overlooked that because I'm usually on top of soundtracks. Maybe I just wasn't looking hard enough. But
Adam,
anyway,
if I find it out, I'll pick it up for you.
Hang on, we're going to take a short minute-long break here because Adam, I got to tell you.
Yeah.
Yesterday I went to the world's largest record store in St. Pete.
Wow.
3 million records in a warehouse. You would freak out looking at their soundtrack aisle. They have tens of thousands of titles, like 5 copies of each title. It is unimaginable.
I got to make a road trip, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. Yeah, I thought Amoeba was nice, but that sounds like they got them beat all to pieces.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely got them beat, yeah.
Yeah, because I spent an entire afternoon at Amoeba, and I bought, I came out with a bag full of stuff there. I mean, stuff like John Barry's The Dove, which I've never even seen the film, but I'm such a John Barry fan. Stuff like that. But, yeah, but it's like I can't not. I think I had picked up Mary Queen of Scots, but yeah, that sounds awesome.
That's another John Barry.
Yeah, I know. I was on a kick. I even got this one from '71. You remember Red Sky at Morning, which has never been issued on video with Richard Thomas? That was like a
yes.
Yeah, it was Billy Goldenberg, I think, did the score for that. And, it's all kinds of weird stuff that I picked up, just odd.
I'm looking on eBay now. Here's Lalo Schifrin's Roller Coaster for $6 on LP.
How did I miss that? I'm surprised. I'm going to have to get that. Well, anyway. Yeah. So, well, there's a couple other things here worth mentioning. How about The Crush from 1993? How about that? Alicia Silverstone. Screen Factory opted for a special edition on that one.
It's not horrible.
No, it's not. I mean, it's her calling card, I guess. Wouldn't that be her calling card? I mean,
yeah. I mean that and of course Clueless, but yeah. I mean, if you're an Alicia Silverstone fan, those are the two movies you have to have. Because
it ain't Excess Baggage, it ain't Hideaway. I mean,
true. She's another person that should have been. I mean, why couldn't she? She just dropped out too. I mean, I thought she was going to be a major star after Clueless, and then she just didn't really capitalize on it.
She was clueless. She was clueless.
I know that she's doing stage work now, on off Broadway stuff, and that's good. So.
Yeah, and she chews her food for her children.
Yeah, I was going to.
I read that. Yeah, that's.
Remember that big controversy?
Yeah.
Yes.
What? She chews her food for her kids?
Yes.
True.
Yeah, not cut the food. She chews it. You know that skit in Saturday Night Live where the man comes to the house for the first time and the family chews their food and then spits it up in each other's mouths? It's actually a skit on Saturday Night Live. It is one of the jaw-dropping skits that they've ever done. I'm like, I can't believe they actually went through with doing the skit. But it's a real thing. Have you seen that skit?
I think I have seen that. Aren't they supposed to be like birds or something?
They eat like birds. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
It's been a while,
I've seen that. Yeah, that was stunning when that was first played.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how about the return of A Man Called Horse? With that was there was 3 of those, weren't there? I believe that was.
Yes, there was. There was a triumph of A Man Called Horse, right?
There's a lot of Man Called Horse. I mean,
and then there was a 4th film called Something Big.
I'm still waiting for the joke about the unsinkable Molly Brown being on the Titanic, but we didn't get that joke.
Oh, did you tell a joke about that? Tell it again.
No, I was just waiting for somebody to make one.
Yes.
Anyway, no. The 1986 version of Stagecoach, which one of my colleagues got this review disc, and he was telling me at a screening the other night. He said it's really bad. He said it's really bad.
I've tried to watch it, and I couldn't get 10 minutes into it.
Yeah.
And it's got a really huge cast. I mean, it's Bing Crosby and Margaret and just lots of interesting people in it. But boy, it doesn't. There's a Slim Pickens in there, and I mean, it's not good at all.
No, it's not. It's it is John Schneider and Elizabeth Ashley and even Anthony Newley, Anthony Franciosa.
Anthony Newley, oh my God!
Yeah, I swear it's true.
Well, if he can't save it, no one can.
And Jessie Coulter, you don't see her acting very often, and David Allan Coe. But
that is crazy. David Allan Coe is in it. That's nuts.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, it's like I said, one of my colleagues had gotten it, and he just told me, he said, Adam, it's really bad. He said, I didn't realize. I said, okay, I'll skip it. I'm not requesting that title. So anyway, so how about Fantastic Planet? The animated Criterion is putting that out. This is the 1973 animated film Fantastic Planet, which I've never seen.
Yeah, Renee Laloux, I think. It's nuts. It was a big hit in the mid '70s. One of the few non-Disney animated movies. Animated movie for adults, really, and it's interesting visually. I get impatient with it. But if you're a fan of sci-fi, I think it's something that you have to see. And certainly a lot of people who've never seen it will be seeing it now that it's on Criterion.
Oh, yeah.
So good for that. Good for them.
Yeah. So 99 River Street from 1953.
Now, that's funny. I just watched that, I just watched that on Amazon Prime. That is very good.
John Payne.
That's you can find so many good noir movies on Amazon Prime, and this was one that I had never seen before, but I found very exciting. It's from 1953, like you said, with John Payne, Evelyn Keyes, and directed by Phil Carlson, who did things like Kansas City Confidential and
Phoenix City Story.
Phoenix City Story is also one of the greats, and I guess it's probably his most famous movie is probably Walking Tall, I guess, from the early 70s. But he was kind of an unsung American auteur, kind of almost an independent before we knew what independents were, and it's very good.
His most infamous movie would have to be Mitchell, though, because of its inclusion on the Mystery Science Theater.
I would agree, and I would say that's probably the greatest episode of. I mean, without being an expert on Mystery Science Theater, I mean, I've seen it, but I haven't seen 1,000 of them. But that one is so freaking funny.
It is.
It's amazing.
Yes.
But good old Phil Carlson.
Yeah, I'm a fan, I must admit. So so if it's Tuesday, this must be Belgium. That's another Olive Films put that one out, and I'll Take Sweden. Another one from Olive. Yeah,
they're trying to cover all of the movies, all the European movies, in celebration of the European Union.
Let's be honest. If this must be Tuesday, let's say Belgium is Suzanne Pleshette's finest hour. I mean, we can't deny her that. I mean, she's dead. We can't.
Yeah.
We can at least do her that, little bit of generosity and say this is one of her better moments. I mean,
was she the lead in this? I've never seen it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
She didn't get to be a lead in very many movies, so
that would be. She's got to take what she can get. I mean, come on. I mean.
Well, she was one of. I mean, absolutely. Like in The Birds. This is Suzanne Pleshet. She in The Birds. She's every bit Tippi Hedren's equal in terms of sexiness. And it's too bad that she didn't have more of a career, but luckily she had, the Bob Newhart show to really show people how great she was. So,
and her name was mentioned very memorably in Throw Mama from the Train.
Yep,
it was.
Yeah, the coffee table book of women I'd like to pork. Chapter 1, Suzanne Pleshet.
Oh my God. Oh man.
Well, speaking of John Payne, though, Hidden Fear is another release from Keno. So I guess they're on a John Payne thing there. And Cornbread Earl and Me is another Olive Films.
Yeah. I want to see that. I've never seen that. That's one of those mid-'70s black films that weren't really. It's not an action film. It's more of a character piece, like Cooley High or Claudine or those kind of things. And I'd really like to check that out.
Yeah. So, and one other Olive title from 1947 with William Hartnell, and that's Appointment with Crime. So that's another one that they've issued.
Okay.
And so that brings us up to, I think, this coming Tuesday when we have a couple of curiosity items there. We have Dr. Strangelove being issued in a brand new Criterion edition, and there's some really good extras on this one. I got to testify. There's even an excerpt from a 1980 TV interview on the Today Show with Peter Sellers. And that's on, and there's all kinds of audio interviews from the 60s with Kubrick on there. There's audio stuff with George C. Scott and Kubrick, and it's some really good extras, and it's a new 4K transfer. So, at this point you're saying, well, what can they do with Dr. Strangelove that hasn't been done at this point? But they really have done themselves proud with this. And they, this was originally a Criterion Laserdisc. They put it out on Laserdisc years ago, but they have never put it out on the DVD or Blu-ray until now. So there you go.
That's good. I think I might go out and get that.
One of the most interesting little mementos that I saw of Doctor Strange, related to Doctor Strangelove, was he and I think I posted it years ago. They were going to have an Academy screening of it or something in November, because it came out in January of '64. November they were going to have a Academy screening of it or something, and they had to cancel it because the president was assassinated. And so there's a letter signed by Stanley Kubrick explaining that.
Yeah,
that's
that
very
was interesting to see.
Yeah,
I always
absolutely.
thought one of the interesting, I'm sure this has that, is that I guess they did these sort of fake interview films with George C. Scott and Peter Sellers, where they're on the set of the film and they're talking, but they're leaving space for the interviewer to ask the question, later on. They're kind of fooling people they're trying to fool people into thinking that the interviewer is actually talking to them by a phone on the set, but it's just a elaborate sort of hoax. So what you see is them just sitting there listening and then answering a question. And I always thought that was fascinating.
Yeah, they used to do that a lot back in the '60s, and it's funny because I remember the song parodist Allan Sherman. They found Dr. Demento found one of those, and he conducted a fake interview with Allan Sherman years after he had passed away because there were no audio interviews of Allan Sherman, very few anyway, and so that was something that those things turned up quite a bit in the '60s. So but anyway, so a couple other things worth mentioning here. How about, you're talking about those '70s disaster films? Well, how about 2 Minute Warning from 1976?
Oh God,
another one that's. It feels like it's about a sniper at the Super Bowl, so
that's right.
But it feels like it still feels like the disaster never comes in that movie. I was watching it, I was like, okay, when does the chaos start? Who was in that? That was John Cassavetes.
It was Charlton Heston's in it. Charlton Heston's in it, isn't he?
Jack Klugman.
Yep.
and
David
Jansen. Yeah.
Bo Bridges, Martin Balsam. Yeah. So it's directed by Larry Pierce, who is better known for The Other Side of the Mountain Parts 1 and 2.
Yes.
Man, the Super Bowl really took a pounding in the '70s with disaster movies. Between that and Black Sunday.
Yeah.
Those were the same year too. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah,
that was
it is.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah. But 2 Minute Warning was one of these films that they added a bunch of stuff for the network television version. And, in a lot of cases, that stuff did not work. It was horrible stuff that should have been left out. But I remember it actually improved that film. It was one that actually made it better because it was really not a good film to begin with. But the stuff they added in actually just kind of made it more tolerable, I guess you would say. So it wasn't as bad. But it's not on the Blu-ray, unfortunately. They didn't include any of the extra stuff.
So this is the Intolerable edition.
Yeah, this is the Intolerable edition. That's right. So anyway, you have a documentary here which I have not seen that I'm hearing good things about, called Ray Harryhausen Special Effects Titan, and this was issued originally in 2011. So this was when he was still with us, and he participates here. And I hear this is just a spectacular documentary on the life and career of Ray Harryhausen, and the Blu-ray has just tons of extras here. It's being put out by Arrow Video, and there's interviews with Edgar Wright, Simon Pegg, Peter Lord, Rick Baker, interviews with Joe Dante, John Lasseter, Nick Park, just all kinds of stuff like that. So if you are a fan of Ray Harryhausen, as most of us are, or appreciate his talents, then you might want to think about looking up Ray Harryhausen Special Effects Titan. And there is Arrow is also issuing the Return of the Killer Tomatoes for anybody who is looking to find that one. There it is.
Is that the one with George Clooney?
I believe it is. Yeah.
I think George Clooney was in the original, wasn't
he? Yeah. John Astin and George Clooney are in this one. So.
Okay.
Yeah, they're both in that. So, and I know Dean has a fondness for films of the late 70s and the early 80s, and let's see if you remember this one. How about Movie with George C. Scott? We talked about
I remember that. It's a Stanley Donen film. It's not. I remember it not being bad. It's not great either, but yeah, it's a Stanley Donen movie that's supposed to pre-Grindhouse. It's supposed to replicate the feeling of going to a double bill back in the 30s. And I remember one of them's kind of like a backstage musical, but I can't remember what the other one was. And of course, George C. Scott is the lead, and he plays the lead in both movies. And I'm sure Trish Vanderveer is in there since he was married to her. I'm not quite sure, but. Yes, so that's that. There's I have a little curiosity for that.
Yeah, I think I've never seen it, but I've always wanted to. I may have to do if they don't send me a copy of it, I may have to do a blind buy on this one, because it actually has an introduction by George Burns that they've I think it was originally shot but not used, and they put it back in, and it has new interviews with Harry Hamlin, and how about Kathleen Beller? Whatever happened to her? Well,
I don't know that name.
She's in the Godfather Part 2. She's in
who did she play in Godfather Part 2?
She's the girl when in the sequence with the young Vito when I think she's on stage when they're at the sitting, the girl that's singing on stage.
Okay.
Or the one they're fascinated with, she's long dark hair, and she's in Promises in the Dark with Marsha Mason, and she's in late 70s and on quite a few things, and then kind of fell off the map. But she's in this film too. So there you go. But
all right.
Anyway, so I think that pretty well wraps it up for the month of June in terms of what we've got on Blu-ray. I don't see any other. I think we dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's.